We all know that Spider-Man fights scary bad guys. But do you know the one thing he is never scared of? Needles.
What the?
It's probably spider puberty.
Hey, come on!
What's going on with you, Spider-Man?
Organic webs.
Ugh.
Heightened senses.
God, that's cool.
Increased agility.
You okay, kid? Yeah, you're okay.
Spider-Man Brand New Day.
I didn't know you could get that big.
Rated PG-13, July 31st.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Marvel and Sony drop more Spider-Man Brand New Day footage. We have a couple new villains he's fighting during this, a couple new reveals about what's happening to him with his spider evolution during the movie too, so we'll break it all down. Even Tom Holland was making all the spider puberty jokes a couple weeks ago. I was surprised they actually used it in the movie itself and it wasn't just a joke behind the scenes. Our little spider boy going through spider puberty becoming a Spider-Man finally. Starting at the beginning of the footage, they have new voiceover of him at what looks like a children's school with one of the nurses or one of the teachers teaching the kids about getting inoculations, it sounds like, and they're trying to use Spider-Man as sort of like the pincushion to show how he's not afraid to get his immunizations. Some of you probably recognize this really beautiful flip that he does off of the building. This front flip is meant to be just like he did in Spider-Man PS4 and like the comics. Kevin Feige said one of the big things about this movie is that he's doing more Spider-Man stuff from the comics than he's ever done in his previous Spider-Man movies. While this is going on, the nurse talks to the kids saying that Spider-Man fights a bunch of scary quote-unquote villains as they show a montage of him fighting a bunch of lesser villains, like the Boomerang fight, like the Tarantula fight that we see in the previous trailers, but we get the new footage of him also during this fighting Ramrod from the comics, which is meant to be a big comp to a comic book cover. Destin Daniel Cretton said this was a big deal during the movie, recreating a bunch of comic book covers. It's from Amazing Spider-Man number 221. During it, Spider-Man had to stop Ramrod, who started a fight after a bar owner wouldn't hire him to perform as a country music singer and unleashes a virus on a bunch of people from a lab. Spider-Man uses an electromagnet to stop Ramrod, slamming him into the building with his head here hilariously. My assumption is that when he's fighting Ramrod here, this might just be part of the montage that's supposed to appear early in the movie, showing what he's been doing as friendly neighborhood Spider-Man around the city since the end of No Way Home. And it's meant to be similar to what they did with Miles Morales at the beginning of Across the Spider-Verse, just showing you a montage of him fighting a bunch of different villains, doing funny mundane tasks, being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, appearing on TV, like just doing funny things in general.
Endorse baby powder. Apologize for endorsing baby powder.
So in the actual movie, this Ramrod fight might only last for like a couple seconds on screen. Blink and you'll miss it, just like a funny moment. And I'm not expecting it to go down exactly like it did in the comic book version of the fight. Ramrod is a cyborg originally from the Daredevil comics, so he is also a Daredevil villain, even though I don't think that Daredevil is supposed to appear in this movie. He was a former construction worker who was injured, then turned into a cyborg by Moondragon, then blackmailed by a lesser Daredevil villain called Kerwin Broderick, who tried to use him to force to try and kill Daredevil. Not expecting to see any of that stuff in the movie, like I think it'll just be like a funny moment of him fighting a villain that looks like Ramrod and slamming him into the building here with his new strength. My early assumption is that the movie won't get into any of that backstory, like it'll just be a funny moment of him for a couple seconds on screen taking him down hilariously. This is just another one of the many comic book covers we see them recreating in the movie, like Destin Daniel Cretton said he was doing. Amazing Fantasy number 15 is probably the most famous one we've seen so far in the trailer footage. There's the Tarantula fight, that's another one, the Boomerang fight. There will probably be several other comic book covers. I'm hoping there's a couple ones for Hulk and maybe for Punisher too. It makes sense that they'd have those too. Maybe if we're lucky, they'll also recreate a Jean Grey comic book cover, but like most of her iconic comic book covers don't involve Spider-Man, so it's a little bit harder to pull that off. When they go back to the children's school and the nurse tries to stick him with the needle, he breaks the needle because his skin is so strong. So they just use it for a funny moment, like, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. And the little girl calls it spider puberty, which is a deep cut Easter egg for Tom Holland when they were coming up with the whole idea for the movie itself. Tom Holland said before they did the script, like when they were just coming up with the concepts that they would deal with in the movie, he said that he wanted to do something called spider puberty, so they just gave that funny line to the little girl in this moment here. So it makes sense that it's something the little girl would say to him, which he's kind of offended by, like, hey, wait a minute, I'm not going through puberty here. Tom Holland just said it was their way of describing the evolution that he goes through when he goes into the cocoon and starts evolving more arachnid-based powers, which they also use a lot of this brand new trailer footage for. We also hear the voice of his new AI, too. We get a little bit more of his fight with Scorpion, who, once he gets him on the wall here with his tail, asks him, "What's going on with you?" Which is probably a response to Spider-Man crashing into the safe. Like, he literally crashes in trying to stop Scorpion, not able to control his new biological powers. So it just sounds like they use it for a funny moment here. Like, Scorpion asks it, "What is going on with you, kid? Like, you're way crazier than the last time I remember seeing you."
What's going on with you, Spider-Man?
Then in the other new trailer footage we saw, he goes into his Hulk out mode where his eyes go red and he gets way stronger and just reacts by lashing him around like the Hulk lashed Loki around during the first Avengers movie. That is basically what's happening here. Like, he's having his own Hulk out moment where he just throws him by his tail into the cop car, also destroying the cop car and almost killing Scorpion. I don't think that Scorpion is dead though. I think he's going to be fine. Then I can't quite tell who's voicing his new AI. It's called EV, like the initials EV. It's not the same voice as for Edith or for Karen's suit lady.
Organic webs, heightened senses, increased agility.
She confirms organic webbing, heightened senses beyond his normal enhanced senses, like an extra powerful Spidey sense or Peter Tingle, the way they called it in the previous Spider-Man movies, and enhanced strength and agility beyond his normal enhanced strength and agility. You also notice zoom and enhance on the digital readout on his monitors. This is inside his apartment, like his new setup that he uses to work with his suit and just be a superhero. Notice it shows the balance of human and arachnid DNA in his body, so he's worried that he's literally turning into man spider, becoming more spider than man, and worried that he'll probably start to lose his sense of self the way that Banner loses control when the Hulk takes over his mind. You also notice the red portions on his body here on the readout will probably grow relatively to the regular human portions and peak out with him becoming a little more spider than man by the end of the movie, with maybe a hopeful ending where he's still able to stay Spider-Man relatively and doesn't go full man spider. Like, they don't go full body horror during the movie because it's still meant to be PG-13. So at least they end the movie and he's still Peter, but with his new enhanced abilities, because a big theme in the previous trailer was him trying to keep the good stuff from his enhancements, but not the bad stuff too. The bad stuff that he's referring to is probably losing his sense of self, like the Hulk hulking out. While his new AI is voicing all of the new enhanced abilities that he's been able to detect in himself so far, only the ones that they've had in the trailers, there could be some other secret abilities that we see him manifest later in the film too. They have the funny moment with him looking at his organic web shooters. He's grossed out by them. He says, ew. He probably thinks of Tobey Maguire in this moment. I wonder if they will have a moment where he actually verbalizes that and he literally talks about Tobey's Spider-Man like, oh, remember the holes from that other version of Spider-Man, the other version of me from the other universe.
Does it just come out of your wrists, or does it come out of anywhere else?
Only the wrists.
Based on the other trailer footage, they're making it seem like his organic webbing has a greater supply and his body's able to produce more of it than with his artificial webbing, and it's also stronger. Also, I think on top of that, he himself has grown biologically more powerful, stronger, so when he's swinging around, it takes him a while to figure out the new physics of how it all works, and he's not able to control his web slings at first, which is why he's crashing through everything for a little while in the movie. This also feels like a callback to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in the sense that the way they depicted his Spider-Man, the things that he did were stronger, more powerful than other versions of Spider-Man up to this point. The way they cut this scene of him fighting the Hand inside the prison too, they also make it seem like the red eyes are part of his enhanced senses. I think that's just him going into like a biological version of instant kill mode. They kind of started to get into the mechanics of his Spidey sense, his sixth sense, during Spider-Man No Way Home in his fight with Doctor Strange when he separated his soul from his body. His body was still able to function without his soul, just because it was that powerful. So my assumption is that one of the ways this is going to work in the movie, his new enhanced senses beyond that level, is that he'll be able to have like a certain level of precognition where he's able to fight way more people, anticipate where they're going to be, and move way quicker because his agility is also way up too. So he's just able to fight a greater number of people, even highly skilled people, and it's even harder for the Hulk to get his hands on him. When the AI calls out his enhanced agility, they show another new scene of that tank chase scene that we see with the Punisher in the other earlier trailers, where it crashes through a bunch of cop cars and almost kills this little kid on his scooter, and Spider-Man saves him, gives him a little pat, like, you're gonna do fine, kid. The only thing about this scene you'll notice is when he's patting the kid on his head, he still has his mechanical web shooters, so it's before he's gone through his transformation, so he doesn't actually have like the extra enhanced agility and strength at this point in the movie. He's still just like his regular level of Spider-Man. And they end the new footage with that same scene of the Hulk hulking out in what seemed like his office, maybe. It's not totally clear what's going on here, but it seems like there's a desk near there where Hulk has smashed it in a bunch of computer monitors. So I'm assuming this is inside Empire State University, inside the Hulk's office. And even though all the Hulk out talk is on Jean Grey, like Jean Grey trying to manipulate the Hulk, there's a lot of people that think that maybe some other character is the one that's jumping minds in the trailer, and they're trying to mislead us, making us think that it's Jean Grey doing all these things. So you can let me know in the comments if you believe a lot of those theories, or you think there's like some other secret villain out there that's mind controlling people or doing something else in the movie, or if it is just Jean Grey that's using all these powers of telepathy to do all these different things.
Previously on X-Men.
For the most part, I don't think that they're trying to make Jean Grey the actual villain in this movie. They're just using the trailers to mislead you about what's actually going on. So she seems like an antagonist to Spider-Man, but she is not. They will wind up helping each other by the end of the movie. This is why on all the posters that they've been releasing, they show him flying at a bunch of different characters, trying to confuse you about who the actual villain is. Like he's fighting the Hulk, he's fighting the Hand, he's fighting Punisher a little bit too, he's fighting the Scorpion. Which one of them is the actual villain? Like most of those characters, probably not going to be the main villain. So everybody post all your theories about who the actual real main villain of the movie is going to be, if there will even be one. There are a couple that we haven't seen in the trailers yet, like Tombstone is probably the biggest villain that we know is in the movie that has not appeared in any of the actual trailers as far as we know. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below, and if you spotted any Easter eggs or references for the comics or anything else in the footage that I didn't talk about in the video, just write it below in the comments. Now that we're getting closer to the movie coming out, there'll probably be more smaller trailers like this with new footage. Whatever they wind up releasing, of course I will do videos for. The other big reminder is that House the Dragon Season 3 Episode 1 drops later tonight, so my full breakdown Easter eggs video for that will post next. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Everybody click here for my other big Spider-Man trailer breakdown, and click here for all my other new Avengers Doomsday videos for all that leaked footage. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.